Okay, it was just raining a while ago. Now the sun is out, so maybe I get to capture some footage. When you guys sent me a question about the privacy with the drones and whether or not I actually thought about it, I'll read the page that you directed me to. We only technically have about 1 day left or so to actually submit your feedback, so time's really running out. I saw some wacky videos today, starting with this one. I don't know how people could think this is a good idea, but it looked like people were trying to get something up into a building and they had a forklift, but since the forklift I guess isn't big enough, they put a forklift on another forklift to try to bring it up, and I guess you know what happened afterwards. That made me think of that example of how it doesn't make sense in terms of things like drone safety for some stuff. For example, if a real estate agent or somebody, let's just say he wants to take a picture of the roof of the house or something like that, technically you could just fly like a simple drone, very simple and safe. But that is technically illegal without a license, yet to my knowledge you can take like a ladder or a really tall one and dangerously climb up there and take a photo, and then that's okay. So that's my example of, it doesn't make sense if it's always about safety like these regulations in most of the ways. If anything, it should be the other way around. People saying, what? You're not using the drone to do this instead? Why are you doing it that way? That then led me to see this video. It looked like it was a recreational plane crashing into a tree. Man, you must have been flying really low. It makes me wonder, like I believe this is in the US, but is there that much of a restriction, or if any, in terms of how low people can fly usually? So I think that was one of the debates before, where in terms of regular pilots, I guess, that fly planes like that, there really is no real types of hard restrictions. It's more like, just don't do this. Like, you can say you're doing it for emergency practice, but you can actually still do it. Which makes me think again with the drones. I mean, if that plane came down and crashed into me and I was like 90 meters in the air, whose fault is it? Technically, based on the regulations, it's still my fault, correct? And I guess we all heard about people shooting down drones, or people inventing some kind of security or weapon or nets and so forth. How about this one? Humanity gets a laser shooting drone slaying dune buggy. Literally what it says in the title, it shoots lasers, I guess, to take down consumer drones, because they mentioned about the annoyance of them in many ways. And of course, one of the reasonings for it is consumer drones are getting cheaper, so a lot of people use it in devious ways, like say a terrorist, they can use it to carry bombs and stuff, so this is supposed to be a way to defend against it. And it says here, the system uses a high-energy laser coupled with a targeting system adapted from the Raytheon's multi-spectral targeting system, which combines optical and infrared sensors to acquire and track airborne targets and direct the beam it fires. The Massachusetts-based company, which invented the first working laser in 1960, has installed variations of these systems on Apache AH-64 attack helicopters, successfully striking a series of targets last year at White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico. It sounds really serious, huh? And it says for anti-drone row, Raytheon modified the system's ability to track types of drones preferred by terrorist organizations. Class 1 drones under 20 pounds and Class drones 2 between 20 and 55 pounds. What this makes me think about is how, I guess, because of the perception where a lot of people think the drones are dangerous, it's okay to shoot them in the air because they're, quote, a threat. Kind of like that kid's drone that got shot down here in Canada. And this article said, because come on, how could a laser shooting drone killing dune buggy not be fun? So that's generally, I would say, the mentality a lot of people have. The people that hate drones, like, yeah, shoot it down, it's okay. Yet people keep comparing them to like vehicles. I mean, would you shoot a car, for example, just because you hate the driver or something? So one of you asked me about the privacy stipulation with the drones, where you have to put your full name and address and contact details, and whether or not it's a violation of the privacy laws. I'm not an expert, but apparently the person that wrote this, and you said you're studying the privacy regulations, and you may be wrong, but you think the Transport Canada, they're violating the rules. You say here, as for privacy regulations go, PIPEDA states that my personal information cannot be used for something without my consent, and consent should not be forced to obtain a service unless mandatory to accomplish the task or service, as well as the information should not be collected if there are less intrusive ways of obtaining that information. And you went on ahead and linked this link, and you wanted to clarify that you're not against any type of regulations or registrations, I should say, in terms of that, but rather it shouldn't be done in a way where you're putting something freely open for everybody to see, because there could be nut jobs, like I said even before, like kids' drone getting shot down. Like, how does that make sense to put your address and everything on there? So I did go to the site, and I believe that acronym stands for here, the Personal Information Protection and Electronic Documents Act. So I was just reading some of the points. Like one of them, it says collection without knowledge or consent, and according to this, it's okay if the collection is made for the purpose of making a disclosure. under that subparagraph, this and this, or that is required by law. So I would assume in that sense, since Transport Canada, they're making it by law, then they could do it even though it's not law yet. The interim law makes it act as if it is a law. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. But the main thing on this page I'm reading here, it says protection of personal information in the private sector. Assuming all of this stuff here isn't relevant. I don't know, that's why I would need other people to tell me, because I'm not a lawyer, like I said, but I read this stuff to try to understand it. And even I said before, I don't understand how they can even get away with it in general, because you can't do that with a car, I'm assuming. You can't get people to write their full address and everything in the front. Kind of makes me surprised, like in Canada, how there's no lawyers, for example, that actually try to challenge this right now to see whether or not there is anything wrong with it. Maybe everyone's just too afraid here in Canada to actually voice their opinions with their knowledge, which is a little unfortunate. But that's what I get from reading this so far in terms of the privacy stuff, unless you have a specific link that you can send me to and I can look into it. Because for me, I'm learning about it as well. Alright, end of the day. See you guys later.